Welcome to the Equestrian Author Spotlight podcast, a podcast featuring interviews with equestrian authors who love all things horses and writing about them. In each episode, you'll hear inspirational stories from horsebook authors, including writing advice and marketing tips to help you write your very own horsebook. If you're an author, aspire to be an author, or simply love horsebooks, then you are in the right place. I'm your host, Kade, and creative writing makes my spurs jingle. Hi everyone, welcome to the Equestrian Author Spotlight. Today I am so excited to have author Laura Wolfe on the show. Hi Laura.
Hi Carly, thanks so much for having me.
So glad to have you here. So to kick things off, I'm going to read your author bio so people have a little bit of background on you, and then we'll get into the fun part, which is obviously the interview. So here we go. Author Laura Wolfe writes psychological suspense for adults and young adults. Her YA mystery, Trail of Secrets, was named as a finalist in the 2016 Next Generation Indie Book Awards, first novel category. Barn Shadows was shortlisted in the 2018 Chanticleer Paranormal Book Awards. Laura holds a BA in English from the University of Michigan and is an active member of multiple writing groups, including Sisters in Crime, Mystery Writers of America, and International Thriller Writers. She lives in Michigan with her husband, son, daughter, and one spoiled rescue dog. When she's not writing, she enjoys hiking through the woods, playing games with her energetic kids, and growing vegetables in her garden. For more information on her upcoming books, please visit www.laurawolfebooks, that's wolf with an E.com. And I'll link to all that information in the show notes for people interested in finding you. So what's really cool is we are both from Michigan. I think you're from Milford, is that right?
No, actually I'm from the Detroit area, and I live in Ann Arbor now. I used to live in Milford. We moved to Ann Arbor 2 years ago.
Okay, so when we first started talking, you mentioned we've worked together several times over the course of our author journeys, and you mentioned
That's
that you're
right.
from Milford. I grew up in Clarkston, which is not far from Milford. What is so crazy is my dad lives in Ann Arbor. So
oh no way! I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's so great.
Michigan people are really cool. So I'm really excited to have you on the show today. I've loved your books. I love your horse stories, and I just wanted to kind of gradually move into the interview by asking you, and this is a biggie first question, but what inspires you to feel like your very best self?
So yeah, for me, I think to stay centered, I really need to take some time for myself, whether that's just some quiet time or taking a walk in the woods or hanging out with even just sitting with my kids. And it just definitely need time to organize my thoughts before I can sit down and write something that makes sense. As far as writing goes, anytime someone tells me they read my book or enjoyed it or liked it, that totally inspires me to keep going and keep writing more stories.
Oh, that is the best feeling in the world when someone says, I couldn't put it down. When is the next one coming?
It's the best.
That's a big honor as an author. And I see why people would reach out to you and say that, because your books are very intriguing. And
oh, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. So, that being said, I understand, needing to recharge and kind of calm down. And I think as writers, we're a little introverted. Would you say that's right?
Well, speaking for myself, I definitely am. But I think that is a common trait among a lot of writers. That I think because when you internalize all of these things, you have to get it out somehow. So the easiest form for a lot of us is to write it down.
Absolutely. We like to hide out behind our computers and type our feelings and thoughts and make them into these beautiful stories. So going back to writing books, like what excites you about writing and writing books? Obviously you talked about an outlet to express yourself, and put those feelings out there. What excites you about writing your books?
Sure. I like to start with like an interesting premise or something that's unique, and then think of the what if behind that. So like, for example, with Trail of Secrets, I thought, what if a girl went out on a trail ride at a horse camp and her horse came back without her and no one ever knew what happened to her? What if nobody could find her? And then it's kind of like a challenge to write an entire manuscript about that. And because I love mysteries and I like to keep people on the edge of their seat, I thought, that was a good premise. And I like thinking of other scenarios similar to that.
And you have a childhood story that actually helped you when you were pulling together your trail of secrets in all the books that follow, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I do. So when I was growing up, I actually went to a horse camp with my cousin, who's a good friend of mine, and she's my same age. And it was a place where we could just go and ride for a week. It was a sleepover camp. And we just thought it was heaven. You just rode horses and groomed horses all day long. So when I was writing Trail of Secrets and Barn Shadows, and now the third book, it takes place at a horse camp. And I did draw some memories. I mean, there's some clear differences. The horse camp I went to is actually, at that time I rode Western, so it was Western riding. And then in my book, I switched over sometime in my writing career to writing English. So the horse camp in my book is a hunter jumper type riding academy. But I did draw a lot of memories and inspiration from those experiences back from my childhood. Although nobody went missing. Thankfully, there were no missing girls, and I did not see any ghosts. So the main character in my book has the ability to sometimes see ghosts. So that's another thing that did not actually happen.
and that's great. And you really touched on something, I think, for people to understand. We are writing fiction, but where does experience come from, right? It's from things that you've known and touched and done. And so a lot of, our experiences around horses wind up kind of helping us formulate our stories, even though it's not real, like we write from our experience. So you obviously did that in your
That's so true.
Dark Horse series.
Right.
Where else do you do it? I mean, you can go and research things, but I think that's what sometimes gives our book such an authentic feel, is that we're writing from, our experience with horses and how we feel about horses. And I think that's a really unique message that we deliver.
Definitely. I think it comes off so much more real when it's something you've actually experienced yourself rather than just researching.
I totally agree. And then, so you are one of the lucky authors that gets to write full time. Can you tell us a little bit about how your life adventures led you to be able to, to do that? And, you obviously have other experience in life. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, I have two kids also that are 10 and 12. And before I had them and before I was married, I actually went to law school. So I was an attorney. And then I transitioned into real estate. And when they were very young, when they were like toddler age, I had a hard time balancing the work and working full time and taking care of them. So I, at some point, became a stay-at-home mom. And that's when I started writing, because I couldn't just sit there when they were gone. I had to do something. And I've always loved writing. I was an English major in college. So that's when I first started toying with trying to write things. And thankfully, I have a husband who's super, super supportive, both financially and emotionally. And so that obviously I could not do this without him. But it's been wonderful. I have the flexibility in my schedule to still pick my kids up from school and to take them to all their activities. So yeah, I'm very lucky, but I love it.
That's so exciting. And I think it's really important to be home with your children, particularly as they're young and growing up, and to have such a supportive spouse is really important, because it really takes something to be an author, and it takes a lot of emotional energy to be an author and a mother, in addition. And then, you add on a full-time job to that, and it's just, your brain can explode. So it's like,
yeah, I don't know how other people do it, honestly, but I will say I do treat writing as my job. So as soon as my kids are out to school, I'm up at my desk, and I write typically at least 5 hours a day, writing and revising. It really is my career. Mm-hmm. So, and I have now written the 3 books in the Dark Horse series, plus 3 other full-length adult novels. So at least I have something to show for it.
And that's impressive. I mean, writing one book is an undertaking, let alone 6, and in addition to the marketing and all the other things that you're doing, which we'll get into in a second.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, before we hop into, you know, more about your books and your author journey, I know you love the outdoors and gardening, and I would love just to hear a little bit more about your hobbies, outside of being, you know, a dedicated writer and a mom. You like your free time, and
Sure.
so what do you do there?
Sure. We love hiking. We're so lucky to live in a place that has so many nature areas and nature trails, and we have a beautiful river that's like literally a block from our house. So we do a lot of hiking. In the warmer months, we go out on the river and do tubing and kayaking. What else? Outside gardening. I'm a vegetarian, so I grow a lot of vegetables, and I eat what we grow. So that's always fun. And it's fun to get my kids involved in that too, just being outside. We also have a pond in our backyard, so we attract like all the animals within a 5-mile radius come to our pond, and it's just fun to look out there and see them. It's really cool.
Oh, that sounds really peaceful. And I asked that question a little selfishly because my husband and I just moved to our first horse property, and
That's right. Yes, congratulations.
I'm so excited, but we're starting to establish eventually our own garden. So I'm hoping to set things up where I can reach out to you and get some gardening tips.
Of course. Now, I don't know what grows in Arizona versus Michigan. It's 2 completely different climates, but and my garden is only in the summer. So I've already put it to bed for the fall and winter this year.
Oh, well,
it is fun.
That's awesome. And you know, yeah, I've seen some pictures of the amazing things that you grow out of that garden on your Instagram channel. And
yeah, I put a lot of gardening and dog pictures on Instagram for anyone who's interested.
Yes, you have a spoiled rescue dog. Tell us a little bit about
Yes. So Milo, his name's Milo. He's a black lab mix, partially trained, and very nervous all the time. I don't know why, because he's gotten everything he's ever wanted from us. But I love having him. He sits by my side all day as I write, and he just keeps me company, and we take Frisbee breaks, we take walks. And yeah, there's just something special about dogs and horses.
Totally agree. I mean, you know, my furry companions keep me company all day long, just like what you said. And it's just so, my heart like grows 10 times its size when I look over and just see them hanging out with me while I'm doing my work. And and they do give you that break, that relief. Like sometimes if you're stopped or just need to get up, because we can sit all day, which is not healthy, right? So they have to go out and do their business. And so they give you a reason to actually get up out of the chair and move around a little bit, which is good for your body. And
absolutely.
Get things moving around.
Gets you moving, take a break.
That's right. So getting back to writing, I'm really excited to have you on the show today because I'm interested in sort of in your journey. So which has been so incredible. Like you've had a lot of success with your Dark Horse YA mystery series. And that's kind of what brought us together is, you know, I was interested in your books and I read your books and I love them. And
yeah, I loved your book too.
It's been fun. I mean, we're horse people. We love horses.
Yes. Yeah.
If they're a main part of the story. Yeah. So it's been really cool working with you, and you're so positive and supportive, and I really like that. But you published originally with a traditional publisher, and I've been, you know, following you on your social media channels and watching what you're up to. And you recently took the rights to your books back. I was wondering if you'd talk a little bit about why and how that process looked, and just share a little bit. Maybe before we hop into that too, tell us about the Dark Horse mystery series. Just give a little background there so people know about it.
Sure. So yeah, I'll start with just a little rundown of the Dark Horse series. So it basically centers around a girl named Brinley, who's a highly sensitive person, meaning that she processes the energy in the world around her a little bit differently than everybody else. She's, as the name suggests, she's very sensitive, and she can sometimes see things or notice things that other people can't, which makes her very good at solving these mysteries that arise every year she goes to this horse camp. So each book in the series is set a year apart from each other. So the first two books are a year apart. And then the third book, she actually returns to Foxwood as a counselor or writing instructor as she's preparing to leave for college the following fall. The third book was fun to write because it was a little bit different dynamic, where she was actually now in charge of a cabin full of girls, where she had just been a camper the year before. The first two books were published with a traditional publisher, a small press in Minnesota. It was actually a really positive experience. They did a lot of the things for me that at that time I wouldn't have known how to do myself. They did the editing, they did the cover, they put everything together, they did some marketing. I got to meet a lot of great authors through them. And I had a 3-year contract. So my Trail of Secrets was with them for over 3 years, probably 4 years. And then Barn Shadows was with them for the term of the contract as well. So when I started thinking about releasing a third book, the contract had been up for Trail of Secrets, and I went back and reread it. And I just noticed some things about my writing. Of course, as you go through the years writing, your writing improves, and so I noticed some things about it that I really wanted to change, and just tighten it up, make it a little smoother. And it really wasn't worth their time, basically, to let me do that, because it's a lot of work for them to make these changes to the books. So we kind of mutually decided that if I wanted to go that route, then I would take the books back and then self-publish them. So that's what I did, and I made the changes I wanted to make, got new covers, and wrote the third book. The last 8 or 9 months I've been working on that. So that's finally complete, and that one's coming out in January. So and those will all be, the first two are already self-published, and then the third one will also be self-published.
Yeah, and that's so exciting. I want to talk a little bit more about the book in just a second, but just a couple questions about moving on from the traditional publisher. Were you required to revise the covers, or is that something you wanted to do, just give them an update, like the contents?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how it would work with other publishers, but I had a pretty good relationship with the publisher I was with and the cover designer. So I just basically talked to them, and they said, look, you can pay us a fee and keep the covers. But since I was revamping them and re-releasing them, I kind of wanted to get new covers for them. So I went to, I don't know if you know the website called Reedsy, Reedsy.
I've heard of it. Is that like similar to Fiverr, or is it?
I think so. Yes, okay. I think it's along the same lines. So anyway, there's different services for authors there at that website, and one of them is cover designers. So you can post your project. So I described my books. I put the previous covers as examples, and then different designers will submit their designs and basically bid on your project.
Cool.
And offer a price. So I found this woman, her name's Laura Boyle, and she's the one who designed the new covers for my book, for both of my books. Actually, all three of them. the third one, I forgot about the third one. That one hasn't been revealed yet, but the cover reveal for the third book is happening in December, and that's actually the cover I love. I love all three of them, but the third one's my favorite, so I can't wait to reveal that.
That's very exciting, and the redesigned covers are beautiful. I liked both versions, so that's
thank you. Yeah, I like the original covers too. I just when you re-release, I just wanted a fresh look.
That makes total sense. I mean, and a lot of people refresh their book covers from time to time. So I think that makes a lot of sense, especially because you're taking it into this different realm. So why did you decide to go the independent publishing route this time with the Dark Horse Mystery series?
Well, because like I mentioned, the changes I wanted to make. And then once you have your books published with a traditional publisher, another publisher won't take it once it's been published, unless it's a very extraordinary circumstance. So yeah, I just, for this, in this scenario, it made sense. That was to do it this way.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And thank you for clarifying that. I'm not sure that listeners who are interested in publishing a book would know that once they're published somewhere else, often another publisher wouldn't pick them up. But there is a way to get them back out into the world, and that is through
Mm-hmm.
the independent publishing platform. So independent publishing provides so much opportunity, which is really exciting. So you could take something that, you know, back in the day wouldn't have another life and give it a fresh life again, and do the edits
Exactly.
that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
That's very
And
cool.
I do like the control too that it gives you. For example, with the traditional publisher, I sometimes didn't know, like, they would put my book on sale and I wouldn't even know it was on sale. So it's like, how can I market that when I don't even know? When you have control, you know when everything is happening, and you know, you can make the changes. Like I mentioned, you can change the cover or do different promotions. I have it enrolled, my book's enrolled in Kindle Unlimited, which was something I couldn't do with my previous publisher. So there's all those things as well.
Yeah, that's really great. And for people that aren't familiar with what Kindle Unlimited is, would you give like a little brief snapshot of that?
Sure. So it's a program run by Amazon, a monthly subscription, basically. And actually, I don't know the dollar amount they pay per month. Do you know what that is?
I'm not sure. From what I understand, it's per page read, and there's like this global fund.
Oh no, yeah, that. I'm saying the readers who subscribe to it, I think they pay a monthly fee.
That's right.
That might.
I don't know, but I do know you can get it. You can do a trial for free for a month.
That's right. Yeah, you can do a trial for free. But anyway, the reader subscribes to it, pays a monthly fee, and can read any book that's enrolled in Kindle Unlimited for free, basically. Mm-hmm. And the author on the other end gets paid per page read. It's a very small amount per page read, but if enough pages are read, I think it does add up over time.
Mm-hmm. And you know, that actually makes a lot of sense to, you know, the cool thing about Kindle Unlimited is you can dabble with it. And I think it's like a 90-day term. And then if you're not satisfied with the results, you can take it out of the program. So it's just a different way to experiment with book sales. And, you know, they keep saying that the future is subscription based. So, you know, it's pretty neat to be able to go in as a reader who devours books like I do, you know, and read anything and everything, you know, for free with that subscription. So that's exciting. Right. And I'll make sure to link to that in the show notes.
Oh, okay.
You can go find you. So, you know, moving a little further in, let's talk about your third book. You already kind of gave us a little preview about, you know, Brynley has started to grow up and she is now in charge of her cabin. Can you talk a little bit about where you're taking the series, and, you know, when the cover reveals in December, so when can people get their hands on the third book?
Sure. So the third book will release sometime early to mid-January 2020. It's called Cabin 5. Cabin 5 is the cabin that Brynley was a camper in her first 2 years at Foxwood, and now she's returned as a counselor for Cabin 5. She rides to an overlook and finds a Native American arrowhead in the ground, and soon after that, some really bad things start happening to her campers, and she starts believing that it is related to this arrowhead that she found, and maybe some old Native American curse that might be on the land. So meanwhile, there's some other things going on with her cabin mate, who is also a previous camper who she didn't get along with and who is now a counselor with her. And it's a competition between a couple cabins. So she's trying to get to the bottom of all of these horrible things that are happening and threatening to actually close Foxwood because the owners are not able to deal with all of the catastrophes. So it's up to her to now save the Riding Academy and figure out what's going on.
Whoa, this sounds spectacular. I'm so excited.
So it's good. And then at the same time, she has been leasing a horse that she got the previous summer from Foxwood, who she's been able to keep for the year. And now as she returns, it's her time to now give the horse back. So it's a very emotional, I know, separation, and she's preparing to leave for college, and it's just not in the budget to take the horse with her. But she does connect with another younger camper who she also feels is a highly sensitive person. So she's trying, there's hope for the future. I'll put it that way.
Oh, this sounds so great. And, you know, part of what really attracted me to her, to your main character was that highly sensitive intuition. You know, I really felt like I could like relate with her. And I think a lot of introverts actually could feel like they could relate with your lead character. And I love that you've taken the series in a direction where your readers are able to grow up with her. I think that is really exciting.
Yeah, that's been one of the most fun things, is to see her growth over the 3 books. And just, which is, you know, when someone actually ages 3 years, they do grow as a person. So that's been just one of the most satisfying things to write is her growth.
Yeah, it sounds like you're having a lot of fun with this 3rd book and are excited about releasing it. That's awesome.
I am. Yes. Yeah, I am. Thank you.
I can't wait to see the cover and read the 3rd book in the series. And here's something really exciting for your readers if they don't know about it. I didn't know about this. I actually learned about it when I was galloping around your website and your very thorough, beautiful blog. I found out that you have a short story. Could you tell us a little bit about that short story and where readers can find it and how they can, you know, continue with the series?
Yeah, absolutely. So Barn Dance is available on a website called Prolific Works. It used to be called Insta Freebie, but they changed it. So now it's Prolific Works. And it's a place where you can go to download free books, free short stories. And a lot of authors use it as a way just to get their writing out there to attract readers. So it gives you just a little taste of Brinley and her sensitivities, and a glimpse into her a love interest whose name is Luke, who you'll meet if you read book 1. He's in book 1, and he's also in book 2, and he's also in book 3. But I won't tell you what happens.
You can't tell us what happens.
So the funny story about Barn Dance is I actually first wrote it as the publisher that I was previously with was putting together a Valentine's Day romance anthology. And I am not a romance writer, but that did not stop me from writing this story and submitting it. And they told me, this is not a romance, which I should have known because I'm not a romance writer. So it was not part of the anthology, but it did become its.
They told you it wasn't steamy enough, is that right?
Yeah, they told me it wasn't like steamy enough and romantic enough. And I said, you know what, I agree, it's not, because that's not what I write. So I should have known that to begin with. But they said, you know what, this would make a great standalone short story as an introduction to your series. And I thought, well, that's true. So I kept it and decided to just give it away for free. So I think it's not long enough to be a full mystery, but it does, there is a little something dramatic that happens, and where Brinley has to help a horse, and it gives you a glimpse, and like I said, into her sensitivities and into her love interest. And the story actually takes place in between books 1 and 2, but it can be read at any time. And it actually has, the full first chapter of Trail of Secrets is included at the end of the short story. So it's a good way to get that, read that also for free if someone's not sure if they're interested or not.
Yeah, that's really cool. I was going to ask you if it was like a prequel, or because a lot of authors will, you know, go and do a prequel after their series is out to kind of introduce the characters and use it as a way to guide people towards their email list or introduce them to the series. So that's really fun. So you got to try on something new, realize that romance wasn't for you, but it still is a useful complement to the series. So that turned out really great.
Right.
I'm trying to wrap my head around I can't even fathom writing a short story. Like, was it hard to write a short story? Like, how many words did the book end up being? And, you know, what was your strategy towards, you know, squishing everything into a short story?
Yeah,
what did you do?
really, that's funny, because I think most people would think it would be much harder to write a full-length adult novel like you do, whereas a short story, it has its own challenges, but it takes obviously less time to write. What I've been told about short stories is that you start as close as you can to the end, and that's how you can make it shorter. The way I came up with mine is I took a scene from, now I'm not remembering if I took the scene from Trail of Secrets or Barn Shadows, but it was from one of them, and I built off of that
That
her
makes sense.
remembering a date she had with this guy Luke, and then something else that then happened, because this is between, so she's not at Foxwood, she's at home in her Detroit suburb, and trying to have a date with this guy Luke, but a horse show gets in the way, and this is some drama that happens.
That is so cool. I am going to go check out Barn Dance. I'm actually really excited.
Great.
Yeah, because I didn't know it was out there in the world, and I will link to the Prolific Works link so people
Great, wonderful,
check that out. Yeah, that's really, really neat. I'm excited to read that one too, because it kind of gives me a taste while I'm waiting for books.
Yeah, but you should give writing a short story a try, because especially if it's a spin-off from one of your characters, it's a way people can get a glimpse of your writing without making a big commitment.
Yeah.
And then most likely they'll like it and then buy the book.
You know, and I've thought of that. I've actually thought about writing a little prequel to In the Reins about Devon's life in New York City before she even gets back into horses.
Oh yeah, that would be really interesting.
I think it would be fun, but it's like, I gotta be honest, I'm a little scared of the short story component, because it's like, how many words is a short story? Because I like to get kind of,
I think it's whatever you want. So
like a normal novel, 50,000, right? So normal novel is like 50,000 to 80,000 words.
Yeah, more like 80,000 probably.
Yeah.
So a short story, it could be, there's some flash fiction that are only 1,000 words, and now that's too short for me. But I think if you make it maybe 3,000 to 5,000 words, that's a chapter or two of a novel.
That's like really cool and exciting. I'm inspired by this conversation. I'm totally going to check out Barn Dance, but I'm also going to like do my thing and do a little research about like, how do you structure a short story and
right.
What that looks like. But that's really cool. And that's an amazing marketing strategy, right? To introduce people to your work, like you said. So cool. Very cool.
I think, yeah, it's an easy way to do it. Yep.
Yeah, I'm still scared though, but I'm going to try it. Let's talk a little bit about Prolific Works. A couple authors that I've already interviewed have mentioned using this and really liking this as a strategy to build their email list. Like, what has your experience been with that? And why did you decide to strictly do Barn Dance as a free giveaway rather than, offering it that way, but then also maybe publishing it?
Prolific Works has been super easy to work with. You just upload your short story in whatever format they ask for and the cover, and you put some keywords, and that's it. And then you can join group giveaways. So there might be like a YA giveaway or an animal lovers giveaway, and then you could submit your free book to be in these different giveaways, and that's a good way to find new readers as well.
Is there a cost associated with Prolific Works? How does that?
There's no cost at all.
Cool. So it's a free tool for authors to use to help market their books. Great.
Yeah. Cool.
I
mean, you're giving away books for free, so they're getting something from you as well.
Obviously. And then, so why will you ever consider putting Barn Dance out there?
There's just not a huge market for short stories, a paid market for short stories. I mean, people do sell anthologies with short stories, but I haven't found a good way to market that. So for me, Barn Dance is just more of a marketing tool than something that I would try to sell, I guess.
That makes a lot of sense. Your website says that you are now primarily writing for adults and looking to sign with a larger publisher for your adult suspense novels. Tell us a little bit about your adult books and what you're working on now, and what your goal is with a larger publisher.
Sure. So about 2 years ago, I signed with a literary agent. Her name's Helen Zimmerman, and she really liked one of my adult novels, suspense novels. It's about a realtor in Chicago who does kind of crooked things to get business. And so she took that under her wing, and then since then I've actually rewritten it based on some feedback we got. So she's now out there marketing it again for me. But in the meantime, I've written 2 more adult psychological thriller suspense novels, which she is also representing and shopping around for me. It's what I've learned is that it's a painfully slow process. So it's been a lesson in patience for me. And the only thing I can do is just to keep writing and hope that one of them will hit, and then that should lead to the other ones getting out there as well.
That's really exciting. And so how did your agent read your book and then come to you, or did you find her and then she read your book? Like how did you?
Yeah. So I sent query letters to a bunch of different agents describing my book, and then sending them. They all require different things, but so let's say some require the first 25 pages, or some might ask for the full manuscript. And then if they're interested, they email you back and ask to read the whole thing. So she did, and she read it, and she said she loved it. She signed with me.
That's exciting. So that's great feedback initially on the next adventures in life. And then so now she takes your books, she represents your books. What has that journey been like? Like how does it work, your connection to the agent and the agent connecting to the publisher? Like how does she do that for you?
So a lot of people I don't think realize that as an author, you can't just send your manuscript to Penguin or Simon & Schuster. They only take manuscripts that are represented by an agent. She takes it, she helps me polish it or whatever needs to be done, and then she sends it out to the different publishers that she thinks it would be a good fit for. So then it's usually a waiting game then to either for good news or for feedback on what you could improve on it. So and then if they don't hit, then I'm learning the next step might be to then go back to maybe either a smaller publisher, or there's always the self-publishing option, which I'm exploring now with the horse books.
Mm-hmm. So which is really exciting. You have a whole bunch of avenues that you can explore.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, dream publisher, like where would you just bounce out of your boots to see your books?
Oh my gosh. Any of the bigger ones.
Winding up at any of them would be
yeah, really any of them. I'll take any.
Good luck there. Did you find the transition from going from writing for young adults to writing for adults challenging, or how was your experience with that?
In some ways I find writing for adults easier than writing for young adults, because I don't have to worry about language or different situations that people might find themselves in. I don't have to worry about offending somebody or angry emails from mothers or things like that. You just don't have to worry about it.
Which has got to be kind of freeing. You're like, okay, characters, you can run wild.
Exactly. The young adult books that I was writing were still in the mystery genre. And then my adult novels are, at their heart, they're mysteries also. So it wasn't a big change, really.
Mm-hmm. And you're a fan of mysteries yourself. That's like what you like to read, right?
I love reading mysteries, and really psychological thrillers are like what I love reading the most. But I enjoy reading lots of different things too. I don't only read that, I like even nonfiction or historical fiction, romantic, suspense. They're all different things.
Yeah, a reader is a reader is a reader, right? Like,
yeah, exactly, right.
My bookshelves are so many different things. I don't only read horse books, folks. I just happen to really like them.
Yeah. Well, the great thing too about connecting with other authors is that authors are usually readers as well. So it's a great way to get your work out to more potential readers and then discover new authors.
Absolutely. So. I have been recommended so many great books from my author friends that it's like, I'm always like, oh my gosh, this book. I just interviewed a horse photographer. Her name is Shelley Paulson, and she does a lot of like commercial work for like Farnham and Neutrina and SmartPack. She does like all these great horse pictures, but she recommended some books to me that really started our friendship, by this guy his name is Cal Newport, and he talks about, it's really helped my author work. You might like these books. They're called Deep Work, Be So Good They Can't Ignore You, and Digital Minimalism. Digital minimalism really goes into like how, social media and all these distractions going on around the world actually keep us from doing our best work. And really focusing in on what we're doing. And as an author, it's like created so much more time for me. It's been amazing.
It's interesting.
Slight tangent, but anyway, Cal Newport.
Yeah, that's okay.
Great. So you have a lot of experience. You have, you're going the independent publishing route. You're working with an agent and looking at larger publishers. You've worked with a smaller traditional publisher. You've had a lot of experience. So what I'm wondering is, was there anything that you wish you had known that maybe you can offer advice to an aspiring author when you first started out that you wish you had known when you got going with your career?
Yeah, definitely. There are so many things I wish I had known. But yeah, the main one is when I first signed with the smaller publisher, I thought that was it. I thought I had it made, and I didn't realize that was only just the very beginning. Like you have to, I guess what I'm trying to say is I didn't realize the amount of marketing that would go into it, and that wasn't even self-published, but even with a small press, you have to do so much of your own marketing. I thought just because it was published and out there and available that people would just automatically buy it. And the truth is that there's just so many books on the market that they get lost if you're not out there promoting and marketing them. So that's why doing things like this is really great. And social media, and the Prolific Works thing. I mean, you just always have to be out there letting people know about your books. Otherwise, people can't buy a book that they don't know exists. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. So I think that actually surprises a lot of people to hear when they hear that even when you are with a traditional publisher, there's a lot of the marketing work kind of falls to you. They help, of course, but a lot of it falls to the author's shoulders to maintain that. Okay, so I thought that this was really cool. You wrote a post on your blog that your novels, a lot of your novels were all written or started anyway in November during NaNoWriMo. Would you talk a little bit about NaNoWriMo and how it helped you get these books going?
But that's true. So National Novel Writing Month, for people who don't know, is it's basically a challenge to write a novel in 30 days. And so the idea is that it makes it easier for you than the idea of writing this enormous manuscript. It seems like such a big task, but if you break it down into a daily goal of, I think it comes out to about 1,700 words a day, then all of a sudden it becomes a little bit more doable. So for me, that I'm a goal-oriented person, write 1,700 words a day, and so and some days it was definitely harder than others, and some days I didn't get it done, but by the end of the 30 days, you have something to work with. Even if it's not the full 50,000 words, you might have 35,000 words, and that's probably half a novel, So then all of a sudden it's not so daunting. Oh, I can get this done, and it's not a beautiful vase, but it's a lump of clay that you can mold, you know what I mean, and go back and revise and add on to.
Yeah, that's really great. And it gives you incentive, right, to sit down in the chair and do the work. But the other thing about NaNoWriMo is that there's a community of other authors doing it at the same time. So it's a big community of people sitting down in November, working on their books, the goal of the 1,700 words a day. And then they have like a platform where you can enter in the number of words that you had written a day and track your progress. And
to track it. That's right. Yeah.
And it's really cool to be able to see that, right?
Have you done that?
I went for it last year. I started it. I actually started the 4th book in the Rain series during NaNoWriMo.
Oh, great.
And I think I got to 35,000 words, and then it just kind of, I didn't get it all
Yeah.
done, but I really liked it. I liked the community. I liked the
Mm-hmm.
conversation going on. They have a lot of great webinars and different things that you can learn about the process of writing a novel. And I really like the idea of just sit down, do it, go for it. And I'm still working on the fourth novel. I'm doing this interview with you and reading your blog post actually inspired me to think about sitting down and doing NaNoWriMo again.
Oh, great. Great. So yeah, what I found is that's funny that you said you got to about 35,000 words, because I think that's about where I got every time. But even that's something. And even if it takes 2 months, who cares? It's still a novel that you've written a first draft in 2 months or 3 months or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's really great. And then I love your strategy too. You said November can sometimes be, even though that's when it happens, like the official NaNoWriMo, that you like the strategy so much that you have another way you use what you learned from NaNoWriMo. What do you do there?
So November isn't always the best month for me just because of Thanksgiving and traveling and things like that. Because I tend to lose that whole week, which doesn't really work.
Right.
So I make my own National Novel Writing Month, and a month where I know I'll have more time to actually devote every day to writing a certain number of words. So sometimes it could be in September or May, and I just track the numbers on my own.
Yeah. And just seeing those numbers, the number count grow is really exciting and motivation. So
definitely.
You can be like Laura and do NaNoWriMo whenever you want to.
That's right. It doesn't have to be November.
That's right. It's just another skill in your tool bag. So I'm really curious about what you're working on right now. You're working on a suspense novel right now. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on?
I am working on an adult psychological thriller involving. It's set at a high school, and it involves the murder of a very popular and young and carefree English teacher. And she is actually murdered the night of the school's biggest fundraiser. And she has made a lot of enemies during her short time at the school, because she was just hired. So there's a lot of suspects, and it's one of those books that goes back and forth between two narrators. So every other chapter is it's one of two people, and so that's what I'm working on, and I just finished the third draft revisions today, actually. So I might take a day off tomorrow, and then have some people read it for me and give me some feedback and go from there.
That's really exciting. Good for you.
Thanks.
How do you find it sometimes difficult to keep all that track of all that when there's, this mystery and this story weaving and flowing? Do you know what's going to go on?
I feel like I basically know, but there's always different things that come up that you weren't expecting that then you have to go back and weave into the story. Just even I had to add in a couple more characters. I realized I was missing enough teachers, and I didn't have a vice principal, and all these problems that I didn't think about. So I had to go back and add all those things in. It does help to have, obviously, some other sets of eyes on it, whether that's a trusted beta reader or a critique group or your agent or whoever it is, just to give you that feedback. And then it's by no means finished. I'll take a break and then go back and look at it again.
That's sometimes the best thing to do too, is you work diligently on it, and then you give it some room to breathe, and then you come back to it, and you can add these things or spiff something up here or there, or add a new twist. How long do you usually give yourself to breathe before you go back to your books?
That's a good question. I think it varies. With this one, I actually let it breathe all summer because I was working on Cabin 5 all summer. So I thought it was a good time to just set that one aside for a while. And then that really helped to set it aside for that long a time, because I had forgotten a lot of what I wrote. So when I came back and reread it in September, it was with very fresh eyes. And I noticed a lot of things that I wouldn't have seen, I think, if I had just tried to go through it immediately again after doing the second revision. So I think it really helps to set it aside for a while.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because, you know, when you spend time with this book all day long, every day, and you're touching it and being with it, like you start to not see things anymore, you know, that's
yeah, you're so close to it that it's hard to see, oh, I already said that 5 times. You know, but someone else can read it and say, oh, you already said that 5 times. And it's like, oh, you're right. I did. And then you can fix it.
Yeah. And that's funny. That's something that happens with beta readers a lot. They'll be like, boy, you really like this particular word. You know,
Yes.
you know, that's another really interesting thing too, that you learn as an author. You know, it's like, because you take, you know, you're writing, but it's like day after day after day, you may forget that you used a word a bazillion times. Like my editor, you know, caught that a couple times in my book. She's like, you've used this word 76 times. I think you need to,
yeah.
I think you need to find another word or just put those things out of there. But
yeah,
that's why it's so vital to take breaks and then, you know, have somebody else come in and read it for you.
right.
So that's really informative. Thank you so much. And so we're getting towards the end here, and I just have a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
What for you has been the hardest part about being an author?
Oh, wow. I think probably just staying motivated. It's just such a tough industry to break into and to succeed at. And there's so much criticism, even when you produce a good product, you know, it's out there for everyone. So it comes with the business. But yeah, I think staying motivated in a business that just takes so long, especially if you're going the traditional publishing route like I'm trying to do, it takes so long to actually reach the next milestone. And so it's just that a lesson in perseverance, I think. And that's been a little bit difficult, but at the same time, I think, you know, you gotta, if you're able to keep your eye on the prize and just keep going forward, I think good things can happen. Absolutely. And I'm rooting for you, and, you know, particularly with, you know, taking your books to the next level and going, you know, to a big publisher. That's really exciting. And I'm going to be following your journey, and I'd like to have you back on the show so you can talk about that when oh, that'd be wonderful. When that happens, I definitely will. It will, because you said you said that these new books that you're working on may not be horse themed, but you can't resist having a horse run through a pasture somewhere. So there'll still be that's appearances. Very true. Every one of my books has a horse somewhere in it. That's a challenge. You can find it. Nice. And I like that. So, you know, so that's great. And then on the flip side of that question, what for you has been the best part of being an author? You already mentioned that you love it when you hear that you've touched a reader and they come back to you and they tell you they couldn't put your book down. They can't wait for the next one. Is there anything else that really makes you hurtful? I think that is the best, when somebody tells you, someone you don't even know, it's just random person emails and says, oh, I loved your book. When's the next one coming out? That's the absolute best. I also love just, you know, because I have kids, and I think they are impressed on some level that I have written these books and they're published. And so that makes my heart full, that they're proud of me. Well, what a great example you are being for your children. Mom has a big dream and she's making it happen. I mean, what better role model could you possibly be than, you know, going after it? Right. I'm trying. So hopefully they'll see that and go after their own dreams. That's great. Well, you're already crazy successful. You know, you're just going to the next rung. You know what I mean? You have a full book series out in the Dark Horse mystery series, and, you know, you've got all this great stuff going on. So it's like you're only just going to continue growing, and that's so cool. Thank you so much. Oh, you're welcome. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on the show with me today. And I really appreciate you doing this and sharing your journey with us, and let people know where they can find you. And I'll make sure to include those links in the show notes so people can get to you directly. But where can people find you in your books, Laura? Okay. Well, the Dark Horse series is on Amazon. And if you'll put the link to that. But Trail of Secrets is the first book, Barn Shadows is the second book, and then Cabin 5 will be coming out in January. And then my website is laurawolfebooks.com. And I'm on Instagram, L Wolfe Writes, and Twitter at Laura Wolfe Books, and
Fantastic.
Facebook, Laura Wolfe Books.
Yeah, we're all over the place. I'll make sure to link to all your social media channels in the show notes so people can find you and your books.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the gift of your time. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll keep following you, and we'll keep talking, and I'm excited to see how things develop.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Equestrian Author Spotlight podcast. I hope you enjoy these Q&A sessions with wonderful equine authors who love all things horses and riding, just like me. Visit my website, carlykadecreative.com, where you can read the show notes, and make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you so much for your support. Want a free guide to secrets of horsebook authors? Gallop over to carlykadecreative.com/wisdom to have author advice delivered instantly to your inbox. If you are an author who writes about horses and would like to be spotlighted, please let me know. Visit my contact page at carlykadecreative.com to fill out a request. I'd be happy to have you on the show too. Thank you for tuning in to the Equestrian Author Spotlight podcast. See you next time. I'm your host, Carly Kade. Creative writing makes my spurs jingle.